On July 15, 1410, one of the largest and most decisive battles of the medieval era took place on the fields near Grunwald, in present-day northeastern Poland. There, the combined forces of the Kingdom of Poland and the Grand Duchy of Lithuania clashed with the Teutonic Order, a militant crusading state backed by German and papal interests. The Battle of Grunwald was more than a bloody confrontation. It was a turning point in Eastern European history, ending centuries of Teutonic expansion and altering the geopolitical balance in the region for generations. The Teutonic Knights began as a crusading military order founded in the Holy Land during the Third Crusade, but by the 13th century, they had redirected their energies toward Eastern Europe. Under papal blessing, they launched brutal campaigns against the pagan Balts and Prussians, ultimately establishing a powerful monastic state along the southeastern coast of the Baltic Sea. While nominally defending Christendom, the order functioned as a colonial power, absorbing lands and suppressing local populations. By the late 14th century, it had become one of the most militarized and wealthy powers in Northern Europe, highly centralized, efficient, and expansionist. In response to this growing threat, an unlikely alliance was forged between two very different political entities: the Kingdom of Poland, a Latin Christian monarchy with Western European ties, and the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, a sprawling, still partially pagan state rooted in steppe traditions. In 1386, the Lithuanian Grand Duke Jogaila converted to Christianity and married Queen Jadwiga of Poland, becoming King Władysław II Jagiello and uniting the two states in a dynastic union. This move undercut the Teutonic Knights' core justification for war, converting the pagan Lithuanians and positioned the Union as a legitimate Christian power capable of resisting Teutonic aggression. Despite the Union, tensions simmered for decades. The Teutonic Order continued to provoke border disputes and pursued propaganda campaigns in Western Europe, branding Poland-Lithuania as heretical or insufficiently Christian. Meanwhile, the Polish-Lithuanian alliance grew stronger. By the early 15th century, the Teutonic Order had overextended itself militarily and economically. A series of provocations, including Teutonic raids into Lithuanian and Polish lands, and disputes over the region of Samogitia, led to open war in 1409. What followed was a masterful campaign led by Jagiello and his cousin Grand Duke Vytautas the Great, culminating in a march to meet the Teutonic army head-on near Grunwald. The Teutonic Knights, led by Grand Master Ulrich von Jungwingen, fielded an army of perhaps 20,000 to 25,000 men, including elite heavy cavalry, mercenaries from across Europe, and crusading volunteers. The Polish-Lithuanian army was larger, possibly 35,000, 40,000 more diverse, and more tactically flexible. It included Polish knights, Lithuanian light cavalry, Tatar auxiliaries, Ruthenians, Bohemians, and even Orthodox and Muslim troops. This mosaic reflected the broader geopolitical reality of Eastern Europe, a meeting point of civilizations, faiths, and military traditions. The battle would test not only the strength of arms, but the cohesion of this vast alliance. The battle began with the Teutonic Knights taking the initiative, attacking the Lithuanian flank under Vytautas. After intense fighting, the Lithuanians retreated, a move interpreted for centuries as either a rout or a deliberate feigned withdrawal. In either case, the Polish center under Jagiello held firm, engaging in ferocious melee combat with the Teutonic heavy cavalry. As the Teutonic Knights pressed forward, they became overextended and disorganized. At a critical moment, the Lithuanian forces returned to the field, striking the Teutonic flank. Surrounded and exhausted, the Knights began to collapse. Grand Master Ulrich von Jungwingen was killed in the melee, along with most of the Teutonic High Command. Though a stunning tactical victory, the aftermath was complex. The Polish-Lithuanian forces did not immediately capitalize by capturing the Teutonic capital, Marienburg, due to logistical delays and stiff resistance. Nevertheless, the Peace of Thorn in 1411 formalized the Teutonic defeat. While they retained their core territory, the Order's myth of invincibility was shattered, and their long-term decline had begun. Internally, the Teutonic state suffered from rising debt, peasant unrest, and loss of legitimacy. Meanwhile, Poland-Lithuania emerged as a dominant regional power, one that would define the political shape of Eastern Europe for the next 2 centuries. Grunwald became a national epic, especially in Polish and Lithuanian historical memory. Chroniclers like Jan de Gosz cast the victory in providential terms, while later artists such as Jan Matejko immortalized it in patriotic imagery. For Lithuania, it marked the high point of Vytauta's career and the assertion of its sovereignty within the Polish Union. For Poland, it was a vindication of its European legitimacy and military capability. In contrast, for the Teutonic Order, it marked the twilight of their crusading ethos and a transition from military dominance to defensive survival. The Teutonic Order's decline after Grunwald was gradual but irreversible. Over the following decades, the Order faced internal revolts and external challenges, culminating in the 13 Years' War and the eventual secularization of its territory by Albert of Prussia in 1525. By then, the Order's military and religious relevance had faded, replaced by emerging national states and Reformation-era dynamics. Meanwhile, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth grew into one of the largest and most culturally vibrant states in Renaissance Europe. The Battle of Grunwald was more than a medieval military confrontation. It was a symbolic and strategic shift in the balance of power in Eastern Europe. It marked the end of the crusading era in the Baltic and affirmed the rise of a new, pluralistic political order in Poland-Lithuania. It was a moment when tactics, diplomacy, and ideology intersected, and it remains a potent symbol of unity, resistance, and resilience in the historical consciousness of both nations. Grunwald reminds us that battles are never just about swords and shields. They are fought in the minds of empires, and their echoes shape centuries to come.